All right. Welcome to the Euless Fire Department and episode 1 of Between Two Fogs in Euless. We're very blessed to have inherited a great fire department, and we believe that it's our responsibility to keep it great and our opportunity to try to make it better. And the best way to do that is know who and what made you great. So we're here with Lieutenant James Smith. Lieutenant Smith retired from the Euless Fire Department with 28 years. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being willing to share.
Thanks for having me.
So first I wanted to start way back. Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born and where'd you grow up?
I was born in Temple, Texas, and my parents moved from Temple into the Dallas area until I was about 6 years old. In 1959, they moved to Euless, and I went to school here, grew up here. I'm still here, but I went to South Euless Elementary, Euless Junior High, Trinity High School. Wow. First graduating class at Trinity. Been here most of my life.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Euless then. What was this area like then?
My parents moved there in '59. Like I said, there was 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were scattered out throughout, But it was just a small town. Small town being that there was a place called Midway Cafe, Midway Coffee Shop. It was a place where people went and on Friday and Saturday nights had fried catfish and chicken fried steak and the like. It was once again just a small town. One grocery store, we had just very little retail business other than the lumber yard naturally and some of the other places.
And like one small road going through town between Fort Worth and Dallas?
Actually, Airport Freeway at that time, which is now 183, was the 2-lane West Euless Boulevard, or Euless Boulevard.
Yeah.
So that was, and there was, I'm trying to think, Six Flags, it's not Six Flags, what was the name of it? Western Hills Inn was on the corner of 157 and 183 at that time. And that was a big to-do where Elvis once stayed and where the police department is now. But, it was just a small town.
Yeah, that was a little before my time, but what I understood is that was the place to be. That was something. You stayed there or whatever.
There was lots went on at Western Hills. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, after all that and coming to live here, what brought you to the fire service?
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. Unlike what my father wanted me to do, I from the time I was about 15 years old, I wanted to be a fireman. We had been on a trip to my hometown of where I was born, Temple, and we came in one Sunday evening, and where we lived on Simmons Drive, there was a dentist lived next door to us named Ralph Roberts, and then 2 houses down, Dr. Bert Hyde lived down there. So we were surrounded by a doctor that had a office on West Euless on Highway 157. Industrial Boulevard, where Super Value Pharmacy is now. Back then it was called Medical Arts Pharmacy, and Medical Arts building was up there. Well, anyway, long story short, we came in and Dr. Roberts' mother run to our house and said that their office building was on fire. And so my dad and myself, we got in the truck and went up there, and I'm about 14, maybe 13, 14. And I was amazed at just what these guys did. I mean, this small fire department, it was volunteer at the time, but they had this massive fire up on the hill there, and just watching them, and it just really garnered some interest. I thought, man, this is kind of a cool job,
Yeah.
So from that point forward, I just kind of started thinking about it, thinking now maybe I want to be a fireman. So when I was 16 and driving, I stopped by the fire station and talked to the people, and at that time, there was several guys there: Jackie Dollar, Bob Keeble, Ronnie Hicks, Ed Trafton. I can go on and on with names, but they just kind of, took me under their wing. And I graduated from high school, and at 17, I became a volunteer, and that was in the winter of '70. So that would have been December of '70. I graduated in '71. And they made me a volunteer. You know, I didn't do much, but what they didn't want to do. I cleaned the trucks, I cleaned the equipment, and the like. So, but I did get to make some calls with them. So that kind of lit the bug, and that's when I decided that's really what I wanted to do. So I got out of high school, knew that I needed to get to some college, so also battling with my dad because he wanted me to be a part of the family business, which at that time they were in the produce business in Dallas, and that's not really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I started to college, and I knew that I wanted to be a fireman, but there was also an opportunity that I might be a policeman because I rode with the police a lot at a young age, just through friendship with Jay Howman and Chief Sustair and some of the others, you know. So I was kind of rocking there, but I always knew that I wanted to be a fireman. So took some college classes and got married, and then I got married when I was young, actually. In 1973, and in April of '73, I was having lunch at Station 3, old Station 3, which was, that time was Station 1, with Grover Howard, and I believe it was Jackie Dollar, maybe Buddy Green was there. And Grover looked across the table at me as we sit and had a sandwich for lunch, and a glass of iced tea in a tin can, 1 pound coffee can is what we drank tea back then in. And he says, "Hey boy, you want to go to work?" And I'm like, you know, I lit up like a like a Christmas tree. I said, "Absolutely." So that's when they told me that I needed to fill out. I filled out the application, did the whatever type background they did at that time, and then went to work May 3rd, 1973.
Started paying you for what you was already doing for
what
free.
I was already doing for $1 a fire. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, you and I, we'd had breakfast this morning at the fire station, and we was talking about how breakfast is always different at the fire station. But we talked a lot about the volunteer stuff, and I think in talking with you this morning, I kind of got the idea that I think that volunteerism, that service, that selflessness was it certainly bled over into our now paid department, and I kind of still feel that. Do you think that had a lot to do with
Absolutely.
setting the groundwork for what we have today?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a in the heart of people. There's a service and a desire to do the service, and I believe 100% you're right on that. That's you know, a lot of it is helping folks, and you know, if you find out through the time, the ones that don't have that, they don't last long. They're not here very long, and or they sense to find another direction with their lives, and they move on. So,
you know, we're very blessed today. You know, when in salaries and benefits and everything, but I've seen your first check, so when I'm looking at it from volunteer to now you got this job, that it wasn't that big of a jump.
No, it actually, I was making, I think at the time, about $2 an hour at where I was working at a place called Morris Electrophonic over in Dallas. $2 an hour, maybe 2 1/4. I don't know. I worked, drove a forklift, so maybe I got a little more money. But here, when I started here, I made $475 a month. That was my starting pay, and in October of '73 we got an 18% raise, which was like holy cow. I mean, we went from 475 to 6. I think starting pay then was like six something. So it was, you know, woo-ha.
Yeah.
And at that time they hired several more guys. And that's when the department really started growing. We went from 12, I believe, to 18 at that time. So we had three per shift. I'm trying to remember now. We had 3 per station per shift. So that was 18 of us. But yeah, it wasn't about the money.
No, sir. It was pretty easy to tell that.
Yeah.
Because when I was reflecting this morning, listening to that, I kind of wondered, you know, how do we keep that service, that selfless service? You know, although we do get great benefits and pay, that is awesome, but how do you keep that selfless service? And I kind of kept coming back to, you know, serving the community. You know, even outside of your job, you know, the things that our city gives back and I think that might be how we keep that tie to it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, to me, the difference is that I grew up in this city. I mean, before I got out of high school, when I worked for, I delivered pills for a drugstore from Super Value Pharmacy, which used to be Medical Arts. So I knew everybody in town just about.
That address and phone number.
Addresses, phone number. So district was easy for me.
Yeah.
So, but there again, it was the love of the community. It was the people. It was the city. How good they were to their employees, and that was a whole part of the reason why I stayed as long as I did.
No, I totally agree that. I mean, I had to find Euless on a map to come here and test.
Right.
Not like a paper map, one you unfold. And but it reflected some of the values that I had in my small hometown, growing up volunteering, and I think those roots are definitely what keeps something that keeps us grounded and keeps us great.
Absolutely.
So it kind of brings me to the next question, which would be, what kept you in Euless? 28 years, everybody around you is growing. There had to have been some opportunities, some other people, some other departments, probably some other industries.
Absolutely.
What kept you here?
I have to say, more than anything, the city itself. The administration was so, to me, pro employees. I mean, they did what they could for the employees. I mean, they helped in every way, and I always give a lot of credit to Chief Sustair. I mean, he had a vision and what he wanted with his city, and the others with the council, the Fullers, and several of the other people that were long-term citizens of the city, always made it a welcome place to work. I mean, they took good care of their employees, and I think they still do to this day.
I do agree.
And that was nothing looked. I mean, I had an opportunity to go to Dallas and become a paramedic and be a number in a system, but at that time, Chief Livingston, who was the retired Dallas chief, came to Euless and told me that. He says, "Yeah, you can go to work over there."
Yeah.
But he says, "You'll just be until way down the line, you'll just be a number." He says, "Why would you want to leave here when you're at the ground floor?" So anyway, so that and it was the same thing. Whether it be any other growing city, because we were all growing at the time. This was my home. This is my place, and I mean, it's you loved it and you just stayed at it, and there was never even any thought of leaving.
Yeah, I've always felt like that as I grew up here, that it wasn't that employee boss relationship. It was just a relationship, and that went from the top to the bottom. And the idea of not being a number, I say that all the time because everybody knows your name. It's not that they know, oh, that guy probably works here. They know your name. They know your family. There are relationships there that go beyond business. And that, again, we're kind of back to that service thing where it's more than just a job. It's more than just you and me. So
well, it's family.
It's family.
No doubt about
exactly.
it. And we grew together. We grew up together. Basically, we all had our children. We played softball together. We fished and hunted and partied and all the other things. We enjoyed each other, and it just made it that type of family environment. I know for the longest time the police and fire had one association, and that to this day I'm not sure. Y'all have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the police and fire relationship was always good.
Yes.
Always good. And I mean, I can remember back, and even when we split the associations, it didn't split the people apart.
Yeah.
No, it did not.
No, to this day we have a great working relationship, and it's as you get around the area or the state, it feels like everybody's always talking about well, them cops never and it's not like that here. Do we get along perfectly every day? No, but we have relationships built and we all have the same mission.
Right.
And those are some great guys, and they work with us very well. Well, I don't know if we've kind of maybe already hash this one out, but what do we have here in Euless that sets us apart? Is it that family environment, or is it something else?
Well, I mean, I can say this as been retired as many years as I have, that I've never ever not felt welcome at this department, and that's not the case with friends that I have that are retired from other departments. They don't have that connection, and y'all keep us connected. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is an important part of keeping the unity of the department together. You know, whether it be another 50 years from now, where you still have folks that come back to where they mm-hmm. spent most of their lives. I grew up here. You know, I mean, not only did I grow up in Euless, I grew up here.
Yeah,
in the Euless Fire Department.
Yeah,
and I've always loved it. I've always cherished it. I mean, it's just the way it is. And I don't know. I know in today's world, in 2023, a lot of things have changed in the fire service. I've been fortunate enough to follow through that since I've retired by other careers that I've had. That it's not always the same, but it seems the same when I come home.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's an intentional thing. We have to be intentional about sticking to our roots, knowing that foundation, and that's part of this, is trying to get some of this stuff documented in a way that future generations are going to be able to look at this and see these things and know where we come from and why we are where we are. This one's a very broad one, probably one of the harder ones. What was the biggest lesson you learned in your career?
Well, it's really pretty simple, very simple. I mean, and I bring up a name, and a lot of people will know his name, Jim Nichols. Going through the trainings with him in college at Tarrant County, he said something one time that made so much sense to me, and it stuck with me throughout my career, throughout my life. And it's harsh, but it's true. Ignorant leaders kill innocent people, and that always stuck in my mind. Is that that is, and that's on small scale to large scale incidents. If you do something stupid,
there will be
consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me, I learned that, and I tried to teach that through my years, that we're going to be smart as we can. Mm-hmm. We're going to go by the way it should be done. And I mean, but if you look at other incidents, other places where things go bad, you have to look at the top.
Yes, sir.
You have to look at where it started, and that always stuck with me.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah, when I think about our culture, I've been trying to put it into words, and I'm very proud of our culture, and I want to be able to articulate that to someone. And one of the terms I use is an endless pursuit of excellence. And that when you said that, that's what I kind of thought of, because in our organization, it's never that satisfied that, hey, we know it, we got this. It's always looking for that next thing and being prepared for that next thing, because, ignorance and intelligence is a sliding scale, and it's always moving.
Absolutely.
So you've always got to be in search of it.
Yeah,
so,
well, and it's just the facts. I mean, if you're not prepared, for your job, you're probably not going to do a very good job at it.
And it'll show.
And it will show.
Real quick.
It will show.
Yeah, and the world's changed a little bit.
Sure.
So, did you ever have a close call?
Yes, several, but one in particular. Used to be called Paso del Oeste Apartments. Now I'm not sure what they're called. Up about 157 and 10. What do they call now?
The Del Paso area?
Del Paso,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on Del Paso. We had a big apartment fire there, and ran out of air. Ran out of air in a back room, and had to come out of my face piece and cook my lungs, and spent 5 days in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Came back to the station, thought everything was fine, kept getting short of breath. Just got worse, ended up in the hospital with collapsed lungs. So, yeah,
Wow.
That was 3 weeks before my first child was born.
Oh,
so that was
no stress in your life.
1975. Yeah, so it was a long time ago. But yeah, close calls. There's probably more than you want to think about.
Yeah.
But, that one in particular, yeah, that's and once again, going too far on too little.
Right.
We were. I was off duty. I wasn't on duty. I was off duty. So came in, grabbed my gear, went up there, and like to die.
Yeah.
But that's what we did.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got stuff done.
Yeah. Wasn't looking for overtime. Didn't get any overtime. I'm pretty sure. Had some time off for a hospital visit, but that's the way it was then. And that was, like I said, that was 1975. I think it was November 1975. But yeah, there's lots of those.
Yeah. I mean, when I hear you talk about that, I'm thinking a little more recent, and I'm thinking, here we are, 48 years later, and we're still having the same problem. We're still having guys go too far, run out of air, and yet I know we try to learn from our past, but we're stubborn creatures as well.
Absolutely. Well, your old pride gets out there.
Yes, sir.
One more step.
One more.
One more. Just one more.
5 more minutes. Well, would that be the one, or would there be a call that really is just when somebody asks you, what's the one call that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I was talking to Kenny about it earlier. There's things that we remember, and fortunate or unfortunately, there's calls that you'll never ever get over. I mean, I don't care whether it be a drive-by, something that references that call. You're gonna have this, and it makes you understand more and more our military, our people that's been through bad situations, and you hear of the PTSD and all these kind of things. And no doubt about it, every first responder is going to have those. And on March 1st, 1977, about 5:30 in the afternoon, at old Station 3, there on Highway 10, I thought I smelled a grass fire. I had. We were fixing to get a call. About that time, the buzzer hit. And instead of a grass fire, it said a heart attack victim at 805 Simmons Drive. It's my mom's house.
Give me that address.
I thought it was more my dad than my mother, so I
Right.
didn't really know, because all we got was the information that it was just a heart attack and a possible heart attack. So I wasn't sure. Minute and a half later, maybe, to get there. We got there very quick. Myself, Captain Trafton, and Ronnie McClendon. We initiated CPR. I initiated CPR on my mom, and we waited 28 minutes for an ambulance. 28 minutes. And when the ambulance got there, they were more shook up than I was. I had to basically keep doing the compressions, because they were to the point where they had been told who it was, and it wasn't pretty. But the end of that, I had the only other EMT at the time with me, Captain McClendon. So we know that the CPR that we were doing was the best that could be done.
Right.
She had a pulmonary embolism. She could have died right at the hospital.
Right.
So, I mean, I was pleased to hear that. But it's still, that's the call that will always stick with me for forever. And there's lots more. But
Yeah.
that
Oh,
one
yeah.
in particular. And to this day, Captain Trapton's still alive, and Ronnie Mack's still alive, and I know they're having troubles with it too.
Yeah.
You just don't pass on from that. But anyway, yeah, that's it.
Well, I was going to save this one for the end, but I think it's a good time. At that point in time, we were first responders at best, or some EMTs and some not.
We had 2 EMTs. That was me and Ronnie Mack.
That was it.
That was all.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that time. That was in 77. So, yeah, we were still probably 7 years out
Yeah.
from having, paramedics or any kind of ambulance service. So, yeah, I mean, even moving everybody toward being an EMT. So, but...
And that's one of the important stories I kind of wanted to get out of this, because, how we got to our ambulance service and the importance of that. I want to make sure that we all understand that from here on out. And things like that, that call there with your mom are certainly something, but, we were 7 years out. We had a problem here, and then 7 years later, now we're looking at an ambulance service. How'd that come up?
Well, I mean, just through just trial and tribute. I mean, it was, and And I could be wrong on that date. I mean,
Right.
I'm right on the date of my mom, but I'm not sure Ronnie Mack and I were already in. It seemed like it was 74, 75, somewhere in there when we went
to EMT school.
EMT school. We were very early into the EMT program. But shortly thereafter, I mean, we may have been in class at the time. But at that time, we had contract ambulances, and we wasn't sure when they would get there. It was Mid-Cities ambulance. They come out of North Richland Hills or Richland Hills, one of the two. So, but it never really got any better,
Mm-hmm.
you know, until probably Meisner Brown took over, and they run their ambulance out of HEB Hospital, and that's when it became kind of like they were like our ambulance.
Yeah.
And so it got much better. Don't quote me
Not
on the
what-
years that was, but that was in the early 80s.
Right.
You know, and then I told y'all the story earlier about how we progressed and got the at that time all ECAs except Ronnie Mack and I. We then implemented getting everyone trained to be EMTs. And that was kind of the kickoff of it, and that was in 84, 85. So,
Which was no small feat. I mean,
no, it was. I mean, and we were bucking the system as far as those who didn't want us to be in the ambulance business.
Mhm.
I mean, the handwriting was on the wall. We needed to be there.
Yeah.
And then when it came to where the citizens wasn't being served, it finally opened some eyes to where, you know, this was the reality of it. We're going to have to. We initiated it. Chief Byers, Randy Byers at the time, kind of helped get that started. And when Chief Kuntz came in, he kind of finished it out. And from in 1988, August 8th, 1988, we went in the ambulance business.
Mhm.
And we've never looked back.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I mean, the greatest service there ever was.
Yeah.
We had the best paramedics. We had the best of the best. And
Yeah.
I feel that way today.
And you know, even at that, going back to the beginning of this, what an incredible opportunity to serve. I mean, we have so many more opportunities to impact somebody's life off of that medic than fire. Every day we have those
Absolutely.
opportunities.
Absolutely.
But I am proud of us in one way because it's not just an ambulance for us. You know, we work as a team. The fire truck's going to provide the same level of care off of it for medical, and when it comes to fighting fire, those people on that medic, they're just as important to that fire as any of the rest of them. So, you know, which I don't think was, I mean, I can't imagine it being accidental that as y'all developed that culture, we kept those people as important. They weren't just ambulance people. They fought fire. They carried gear, you know, and
Oh, absolutely.
from the
Absolutely,
get-go.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the old saying used to always be you could make a fireman a paramedic, but you can't make a paramedic a fireman.
Yeah.
That's not totally true.
Right.
We have had, and we hired some great paramedics, and some of them that I would go to before I'd go to a doctor.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they were
Absolutely.
outstanding, and we have a track record of that to this day of hiring people that are dedicated to the job, and that's the whole thing. Dedication more than anything to this job and to the citizens. I mean, bar none.
Yeah. Well, at lunch, or at breakfast, sorry. At breakfast, we kind of went around the room, just polling everybody to see how many years they had. And we've got a guy, he's over in the corner over there, less than a year. So if you were to give a piece of advice to a rookie, what would it?
I'd give the same advice that I gave to all my rookies, and that is to keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your mouth shut. And that's as simple as that. Listen, look, learn. These guys will teach you the right way.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to learn when your ears are open.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely. Was there a piece of advice that you were given in your career that made a difference?
I didn't make that one up. Now, I might not have kept my mouth shut as much as I should have, but no, yeah, I got some of the best advice, and it all came through leadership, and we had some great leaders. We had some good leaders, and that's as I've always said, everything starts at the top, and if you could look at the top and and get the direction, the proper direction, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and this department's had some great leaders.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't know if it comes with experience or just purely age, but the older I get, the more I can see that reflection. You know, when I see somebody good, bad, or indifferent, I can see the reflection to that leadership, and I don't know how that comes about in life, but I found it a little bit. Kind of a little bit different thing. Like when you get off the apparatus, what was your tool? What was the one thing that you were going to take with you?
I mean, most always an axe. I mean, you know, a pike pole, something.
Yeah.
Always had something. You know, nowadays I guess it's a radio. We didn't have them at the start,
right?
But, you know, through the time, yeah, you need some communication. Communication to this day is still a problem with the service.
Yes, sir.
Always has been. I mean, I sit still today. I go to some county meetings through training division, and the first topic is always communication. You know, and it's like. We never did fix that, but same thing happened in 9/11, everything. I mean, it's all about communication. But no, I would say pike pole, an axe, something that if we needed to get to somebody, we'd have a way of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, flashlight in the dark, whatever.
Yeah, that's been a pretty strong sentiment throughout my career. Is you will come off with a tool.
Absolutely.
If you don't have a tool, then I don't have much use for you.
Okay, go back and get it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Probably limping back. What was there one thing that was in your bunker coat pocket your entire career, or
there
one
was,
thing
there was.
that lived there?
There was I still have it. It's an Akron spanner wrench, collapsible spanner wrench. Passed it on for all those years.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it from I think Jackie Dollar gave it to me.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, and I still have it.
Yeah.
He didn't get that. But.
Yeah. You know, to make it through that whole, I know mine have kind of gone up and down. Right. Things come and go, so to make it that whole career, it's impressive.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of like your billfold.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things in your billfold you don't ever take out.
Yeah,
you may change billfolds, but you're going to keep, you know.
Yeah.
It was just something that was there. I mean, you know,
well,
that, you know, I'm sure there was a rope in there.
Yeah.
But that particular, because I can look at it, and I even took it to the, one of the shows I had in Dallas, and took it to the Akron booth and showed it to them, and they were pretty impressed with how old it was. So,
yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things.
Works good as the day it was
bought.
bought.
You know, it's a paperweight today, but but at the time when you had that, you could pretty well get your way around when it's time to break the hose loose. You know, get the nozzles off or whatever.
So what would you say is the biggest advancement in the fire service or Euless? I mean, we kind of went over the EMS program. That was a huge advancement, but maybe fire service, you know, looking back on that.
More than anything, I think the manpower, you know, I still don't feel like we're where we need to be. And I'm not trying to inject anything into this, just saying that for the longest we did so much with so little. Today we get all these toys and all these other things, but at the end of the day, it's people. You've got to have people. And with the restriction through NFPA and all the regulations and stuff now, if you don't have a crew, you're not going in. You're not gonna save or do anything.
Right.
You're pretty much handcuffed. You know. So I think that's the need, is to keep moving forward with folks. You need people. The stations are coming around. You know, strategically, could we use another one? I've always said we could.
Right.
Even my short period of time in the office, I had it on the agenda. But you know, once again, we
got to put people in that too, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we're, you know, but this city has come such a long way. I mean, we're at 61,000 plus now.
Yeah.
You know, the tax coffers are still have funds in them, but they take so much to operate nowadays. So, so I kind of get it as a citizen, and as been a long-time citizen here. I still cherish this town.
We did talk about a little bit at breakfast. You know, just I think with the reflection that you'd given us there about a 2-story fire on Reeves Court, you know, and
50 years ago.
50 years ago, 3 or 4 people. We weren't really sure.
Yeah, I
there,
think there might have been 4.
maybe 4 folks.
Now that I remember, I was off duty, so there was 4.
Yeah, so you came in, you drove by,
I
hopped
saw
in the
it.
truck,
I did.
yeah.
Exactly.
And so 4 people on a 2-story house, and it wasn't like you was waiting for somebody else. That was it.
Yeah, we were probably reaching out to other people, but they were as busy as we were.
Right.
It was 4th of July. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that having that perspective really drives that home and makes those people more important. What do you think we need to work on?
What do we, as
Euless Fire
Euless
Department?
Fire, just keep moving forward. I mean, to work forward with the technology and the knowledge we have. Don't lose your focus on your customers. Your customers being the citizens. That's who you're trying to satisfy or wanting to satisfy, are the people of the city.
Yes, sir.
It's never about y'all. It's about the customer. And I learned that even far back as when we sold trash bags. When people come to the station to buy a roll of trash bags, they were our customers.
Yes, sir.
And I never forgot that. So stay focused
Yes,
on
sir.
your customers.
Yeah. Yeah, the mission's there. You just got to make sure you
Absolutely.
keep it focused.
Absolutely. Because it is for these people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
It doesn't matter.
It's kind of joked along sometimes, well, they're the ones paying our check, which is accurate, but it's more than that. They have an expectation, or they should, that we're going to be there for them in their moment of need, in that worst day of their life, and so it's much more back to that service. Right. I mean, we kind of keep coming back to that. So
years and years ago, we'll talk about this. A good friend of mine named Rick Worden, he lived in the same neighborhood that I lived in, and I would always tell him, he would always ask, well, I'm paying your salary, and we whittled it down to how much it was. It was 26 cents a month. Basically coming out of his water bill, or wherever it was coming from, wherever it come from, per the amount of citizens we had that was provided.
Coming to you.
Yeah. So he always gave me that trouble. He said, well, I want my 26 cents worth. But that was a fact. I mean, and you can break it down. I mean, math is math.
Yeah.
You can figure it out to right down to the penny of how much each citizen, taxpayer-wise, it takes to keep this operation rolling.
Yeah, it's quite the monster. But in the end, too, I mean, he had greater expectations than 26 cents.
Absolutely.
When he made that phone call, he was wanting more than his 26 cents.
You better know it.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever have a burnout moment? Was there any time in your career where it's like, man, I don't know?
No, I've really searched on that. I don't. I tell everyone I've been blessed my whole life. I have been blessed. I've actually really and truly only had two jobs. This job for 28 years, and I went to work for a company selling fire equipment for another 20 years.
As close as you could get to fighting fire.
Exactly. And I never worked a day in my life.
Yeah.
So burnout, there's times when we were frustrated. We were, whether it be whatever it may be. You and I talked about frustrations earlier. Yeah, there's politics. My dad
always will be.
My dad told me that, and I didn't believe him, but I learned very quickly that the politics in any governmental jobs it's hard. But no, I mean no, burnout.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think a tone ever hit that I wasn't ready to go.
Yes, sir. Well, to kind of change that around from some of your earlier statements, was there something that you did? We talked about everybody's got those memories. Everybody's got those scars, from a call or something that they had to be involved with. Was there something that you did that helped you release those, deal with those things?
Absolutely. And like I said, all of y'all are going to have them. You're going to have the times where you have difficulty. I drowned it, man. I drank, and I drank a lot, and I always thought, it was just part of the fact of being an alcoholic. I inherited that from my gene pool. Maybe not. That may not be it for it all. But you'll figure out ways to as the one therapist I went to said, hold that beach ball underwater. There's a way you'll do it, but eventually it's going to pop up.
Yes,
it's going
sir.
to come up. So I went and got help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can call me a sissy or whatever you want to call me, but at the time when I probably really needed it, I didn't do it. But as time went on, you've got to let it go,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all of it. I mean, you have to, and I stress that when I exited the city of Euless, I talked to HR, and I told them how important it was for the aftercare of these first responders,
Mm-hmm.
police, fire, medics, all of them. You've got to ask for the help,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't, the consequences aren't worth it. You've got to be able to say, had enough. Let me have a, and it can be with anyone. I mean, it can be with a fellow firefighter that's trained in that direction, or a doctor or psychologist, whatever it may be. But we're all carrying luggage.
Yes, sir.
Every one of us. The ones that say that they aren't are lying.
Yes, sir.
So my thing is, don't be afraid to reach out for the help. Get the help. It'll make it so much better for your family, so much better for your loved ones, and so much better for your fellow employees.
Yeah, and your longevity, both as a career and as a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We always talk about, that the kitchen table is, usually the first line,
Mm-hmm.
that ability to talk to those people that are there with it. But in the end, firefighters aren't mental health professionals, and a professional can help you deal better. It just takes that first step.
Absolutely.
Of
Yeah.
admitting we need help,
Absolutely.
or at least learning that we do.
Well, we've learned, and I witnessed it very closely after Flight 191 when I brought the guys into the office after that, and we had Beverly Brown, I believe is her name, or Cameron Brown from Fort Worth. I think she was the one that came over and debriefed us. And I can remember like like it was yesterday. The ones of us that were there, I won't call her any names, it doesn't matter, but she was asking our feelings and how, and we were supposed to kind of unload, but there was one in particular that and I'll never forget this. When she asked that question, what are you thinking? He says, God, you've got beautiful legs. and so, but that being said, it was his way of holding that beach ball.
That was a defense.
It was his way of holding that beach ball down because he didn't want to think about it.
Right.
And that was horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever think that wasn't. And to this day, the ones that are still alive that were there, bless their hearts, because that's each August that comes around, I won't ever forget that either. So, but once again, I'm back to that point of get the help.
Yes, sir.
Don't drag it along. Don't let it get you.
Well, now we talked earlier, so you've been retired for
Soon to be 23 years.
23 years, which I guess the older you get, the less time means something, because I was like, no way. There's no way it was 23 years. But what do you think you missed the most?
Oh, it's the fellowship.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can't say it enough. When y'all had the opening for the pre-opening for the new station and getting together with the folks, but coming back and feeling welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel welcome, and that's a good thing. And I know that I'm fortunate. I live in the city. I can stop by here anytime, but at a certain point, you get to where are you becoming a burden? Are you becoming, they don't want to see the old guy come back around, but I've never felt that way. When I come here, I feel like the arms are open and the men and women are glad to see me. But yeah, I miss that. We all do. We miss each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then we lose some of us, and then you miss those things. You miss. I wish I would have. As I looked on the pictures on the wall out there, I go, man, I miss that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we grew up together. Most of us, with the tenure that I had, we all grew up together.
Most of your lives together.
Most of our lives together. I mean, my wife says that to this day, that what she envies more than anything is the bond and the fellowship that I have with all these people from the careers that I've had, and that she didn't have those careers, but she loved them all just like I did. I mean, they were family. So.
Well, that brings us to the end of my questions. Is there anything that you would like to share or tell or anything? Is there anything?
Just how proud I am of the Euless Fire Department. I am so proud, and it shows when I'm out and I talk to someone that asks what I did for a living. The first thing I do is I tell them where I was, where I came from, and how proud I am of this place, and the people, and the young men that I left behind that are now grown men that are running this show. That with you, Chance, and the rest of them. I mean, you've all carried the torch, and I think that's all we as retirees look for, is for our legacy to carry on.
Yeah. Well, we sure appreciate the foundation. I mean, we talked about that. The retiree wall out there is kind of named the foundation, and we take a lot of pride in that. And we know what we inherited, and we didn't deserve it, but we do deserve, to make it better and to keep it that way. So I want to first of all thank you for your service, because we talked about it a little bit, but I've seen that first check. You still have it, and I look at that and I go, man, that was service, because they were certainly not paying you what you was worth. And so I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for investing in our department. I want to, over the years, I want to thank you investing in me personally, because I started at Station 2 with you and Cole Brown and spent a month down there, and it's got some of my biggest memories of the fire department in that house with you. But overall, investing in our department and our people, that means a lot to me. Thanks for coming in and interviewing. I know this isn't always the most comfortable thing to do, and both of us were pretty nervous, but I really want to get some of this stuff down so that we can share this with all these new guys that come here, because they have to know where we come from so that we can continue to make this great.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.